Real quick before the video starts, I have a new channel based around green tech stories on 4chan, and I'll be uploading videos daily over there. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to the channel in the description. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named New Way in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I uninvited my brother and nephew from my celebration's dinner. My sister and I, who are in our early 30s, have an older brother. He is on his second marriage. His first marriage gave me my nephew Connor, who is 15 years old. Connor is autistic. When he was born, my sister-in-law's family at the time was the Village. My parents were also the Village. My sister and I were not. This caused many arguments until I told my parents that they could either have my brother and his family and I would go no contact, or they could respect my boundaries and I would still be around. They agreed. Eventually, my brother got a divorce because of marital problems, one of which was his ex-wife insisting that my sister and I should step up and help. I felt bad for him, and I still do, but I was not willing to change my stance. My sister did not either. I have lived out of state for a while and recently accepted a new job offer close to home. It came with a nice bonus, so I decided to invite my parents, my sister, and my brother out for dinner at my favorite Korean barbecue spot. My parents confirmed that it was not my brother's week with my nephew, so all was well. About a week before I returned home, my brother called and said his ex-wife had something come up, and he would have Connor the following week. His current wife was also going to be out of town with her sisters. I said that was fine and asked if he wanted to call Connor's regular babysitter and I would cover the cost for our dinner night. He said no, he wanted to bring Connor to the dinner and asked if we could go somewhere else because Connor gets overstimulated. I said no. This was my dinner, I was paying for it, and I wanted to go to my favorite place. He told me, "You know your nephew really cannot handle a place like that." I said yes, I know, which is why I was offering to pay for a babysitter that night. He argued that he would just bring Connor with him. I said he was welcome to do that, but then I would not be going, so it would just be him and our parents. He told me that was messed up and said if Connor got overstimulated, he would just take him outside until he calmed down. I reminded him that the last time we went to a Korean barbecue place, Connor had a meltdown and they had to leave. My parents always feel bad for Connor, so they usually leave and go to my brother's house to help. I said I did not want that happening. I wanted to have a nice dinner without worrying about that. He told me to go fuck myself and hung up. We went to dinner, my sister, my parents, and I. My brother did not show up. It was a nice dinner. My parents enjoyed it too, but they said they wish my brother had come. I agreed. Then they said they wish my nephew had come as well. I did not agree. I said it likely would have resulted in my brother leaving after maybe 30 to 40 minutes, and they would have followed him too. They agreed, but also said I should have let him come anyway and just dealt with it. I said that sounded like a good reason not to do that, and we did not talk much for the rest of the night. Edit, I have babysat Connor before, and even now I will watch him for a few hours if my brother has something he needs to do. I do not watch him all day or overnight though. It is not his fault and he is in no way a bad kid. However, I had to set boundaries because my parents and my brother, mostly his ex-wife, would take a mile if you gave them an inch. They wanted my sister and me to stay local after high school so we could help with babysitting, and I was not about to do that. I did see both of them before I left, since I wanted to, but I did not apologize for wanting to eat at my favorite spot and have it my way for just one night. Whenever my brother wants to have dinner, we basically go to the same local place because it is quiet. It does not upset my nephew, and it is his fixation when it comes to food. That is perfectly fine, and I go to those dinners, but for my dinner, I wanted it somewhere I enjoyed. Update. First, I want to thank everybody, positive or negative, for giving feedback. Whether it was good or bad, I read every single one of them, even the ones where people called me an asshole. That is totally valid. While I did see my brother and Connor before I left, it was more about playing with Connor and making small talk with my brother. Today, I decided to call my brother to try to get more information and smooth things out. We talked for about 5 minutes before I brought up the subject. I told him I was sorry if it felt like I was being unnecessarily mean or exclusionary to Connor, but I felt that I had a right to decide how to celebrate the way I wanted to. He said he was sorry for snapping the way he did, and looking back, he realized that Connor would have had a terrible time and it would have been a big waste of money for me. The place we went to was about $80 a person and $40 for Connor whether he ate or not. He said he just really wanted him to be there too. I told him that going forward for things like my birthday, I would be more than happy to have lunch as a family with Connor somewhere that he likes so that he can have a good time. Later, I could go to dinner at a place that I wanted and I would pay for a babysitter or his mother, my brother's ex-wife, could watch him. He asked if Connor would be welcome at the dinner too, and I said no because I still plan to have Korean barbecue, hot pot, sushi, or fine dining, and Connor does not do well in those environments with the lights, sounds, smells, and overall atmosphere. That is why I suggested having lunch on the day of the celebration or the day before, so that we could all celebrate together in a way that would be okay for him. But I made it clear that I was still standing firm that for my birthday or for something like another job promotion, I wanted to go somewhere I enjoyed without worrying. I also pointed out that when my brother used to take us out to lunch, about once a month before I moved, he chose the place, or my parents did, and they always catered to Connor. I had never had a problem with that and attended almost all of them, but this time I wanted something for myself. He was not thrilled, but he agreed that it sounded fair and thought Connor would enjoy the lunch part too. He also said he looked into getting him sunglasses, as one of you suggested, to help with bright or overstimulating environments. Then he asked me a question that I knew was coming sooner or later. Now that I am closer to home, he asked if I was going to be more involved as an uncle. I said yes, but not in the way he probably wanted. I told him I would be more than happy to go over to his house, hang out with him, his wife, and Connor, and bring food that Connor likes. I also said I would babysit him once or twice a month so he and his wife could go see a movie or have dinner together, but I was not going to be an on-call babysitter like my parents. Several times he has dropped Connor off at their house for a week or a weekend with very little notice because he and his wife wanted to take a spontaneous vacation. I told him that was not going to happen with me, especially since I am in the process of adopting a cat and both he and Connor are allergic. I was not allowed to have a cat while I lived in my parents' house, which was fine. It was their house and it would not have been fair to my brother and Connor, who were there very often. That means Connor being dropped off at my new place is out of the question. Thankfully, he did not press that topic. He said that it was fine, that our parents did not mind helping, and that he missed hanging out with me. He said he was happy that I would be around Connor more often. So everything worked out as well as I could have hoped. I am excited to move back home in a few weeks, and I want to thank all of you again for the advice and criticism. 7 months later, OP gave us his second update. I, a 31-year-old man, moved back to Los Angeles from Texas for a new job. My parents live here, as does my 40-year-old brother, his wife, and my nephew Connor, who is 16. Connor is autistic, and while he has made a lot of progress since he was 10, he still struggles with many things. He is nonverbal, stims often, and frequently has meltdowns. My brother, his wife, his ex-wife, and my parents are the only ones really able to calm him down. I regularly watch him once or twice a month so my brother and his wife can see a movie or go out together. I do not watch him overnight or for several days consecutively, and it is always at their house. After our argument last time, my brother and I have been on pretty good terms. He has not really pushed boundaries about babysitting, and we have mended our relationship quite a bit. However, something came up recently that put us on rocky terms again. My brother recently found out that he was selected to attend a conference out of the country. The company is putting him up in a hotel for 10 days. While they will not pay for his wife to attend, they have no problem if he pays for her airfare and meals, and she shares the room with him. I am very happy my brother got this opportunity. The issue is childcare. The conference happens to coincide with my parents and my sister traveling to New York City for a week to celebrate my sister's birthday. Nothing is refundable, and my parents promised my sister over a year ago that they would do this. Connor's biological mother, my brother's ex-wife, will also be out of town for work. This leaves me. When he called me to explain everything and ask, I told him no. However, I gave him clear reasons. I live about 90 minutes away. Distance-wise, that is not too far, but Los Angeles traffic makes things much harder. I do not mind making the drive once or twice a month when I babysit, but I cannot do it 10 days in a row. Connor also cannot come to my place because I have a cat and he is allergic, as well as fragile items in my home. I also do not work from home, and Connor would still be in school, so I would likely need to take paid time off just to make it logistically possible. The longest I have ever watched Connor was about 6 hours. Toward the end, he had a meltdown that I was unable to calm him down from, and only my brother and his wife returning about 20 minutes later resolved the situation. I cannot see myself doing this for 10 consecutive days. This may sound selfish, but I do not want to set a precedent. If I watch him overnight even once, I know my brother and his wife would push this on me again, and I do not want that to become my responsibility. I am happy with our current arrangement, where I watch him once or twice a month and hang out with him alongside my brother and parents. That said, I would not hesitate to care for him in the case of a true emergency, but this situation is not an emergency. I explained all of this to my brother. He was not happy. He went off on me, saying he thought my moving back meant he could rely on me for this. I have said before that I am not an on-call babysitter. He also said his wife would really like to go on this trip. I told him I was sorry, but I would not do it. I said I would gladly come on the weekend when Connor is not staying with him to help out and give his wife a break, but I was not going to jeopardize my own mental health for 10 days straight and burn through 8 days of paid time off for a non-emergency. He had a few choice words for me and then hung up. He later pulled my parents into the family group chat, and to my surprise, they were on my side. They agreed it would be a nice gesture if I could do it, but reminded him that I have never watched Connor overnight before, and his wife does not have to go on this trip. My brother has barely spoken to me since. I feel bad that his wife may not get to go, but I also do not trust my ability to handle Connor alone for 10 days. Update 3. First, thank you to everyone who provided advice. I really appreciate it, and it helped me know that I was not out of line. I messaged my brother and told him that he had 2 options. Either he and his wife stay home and watch Connor, or he works with local agencies and care facilities to arrange respite care for him for the time they are gone, and I would check in on the weekend. I made it clear that I would not be watching him, and I would not hear him out further on that matter. He called me and his wife got on the line. She said that I know how she feels about other people watching Connor overnight and how his mother feels as well, and she mentioned that she had never been to this location before and that it was on her bucket list. I said I was aware, but in that case, I assumed she would stay home with Connor, and maybe she and my brother could take Connor there in the future. My brother tried to interrupt, but I cut him off. I told him I really did not care what he had to argue, that I was not here for it. As some of you suggested, I again pointed them toward local organizations and government programs dedicated to helping parents with children with special needs. But I did not get anywhere. Burnt out from the back and forth, I wished them good luck with the situation and hung up. I then created a group chat with him and his wife and told them that going forward I would be visiting once or twice a month, meaning one of them would have to be present when I was there. I said I was no longer watching Connor alone. I felt this was a fair compromise. It allows me to continue seeing Connor and spending time with him while also making sure I am not in the role of caregiver. I told them that maybe in the future we could work back toward what we had before, but not anytime soon. Both of them replied with long messages apologizing and saying they truly had no other choice and had hoped I would do it for them, that it could have been like a second honeymoon for them, and begging me to continue watching him 1 or 2 days a month. They even offered to pay me for it. I told them no amount of money would be worth it because it is not fair to me and it is not fair to Connor. I reminded them that he is not my son, he is theirs. I told them they need to begin working with agencies now and getting Connor accustomed to others caring for him, because our parents are getting older and soon they will not be an option. My brother responded that he and his wife would start that process and get his ex-wife involved too. But if that did not work out, what would they do? I told him that it would be on them. I said I would happily join them in researching organizations and benefits, but if they had even the slightest thought that I would do for them what my parents have always done, they were out of their minds. His wife asked if I would consider getting training and learning how to care for Connor the way they do, and I shut that down. I told her I am more than happy to be the fun uncle who visits and hangs out, but I value my independence, and I will not let that be compromised. Eventually, both of them just responded with thumbs up emojis. His wife said she would stay home with Connor and not go on the trip, and she told me they would see me in 2 weeks to hang out. We will see what happens then, but at the very least, I am not on the hook to watch him, and someone who can properly calm him will be there with him. I will continue to push them to expand their circle and seek out other options and programs to help them with Connor, because I truly believe it would improve the quality of life for all of them and prevent another situation like this from happening again. Update 4. Once again, thank you for all the comments and advice. They are greatly appreciated. I went to hang out with my brother, my sister-in-law, and Connor at their house. My brother ordered pizza and he played with Connor while my sister-in-law and I spent time together in the living room. To my surprise, my sister-in-law apologized. She said she was very sorry for the way she had been acting. She explained that coming from the Midwest and being an only child, she grew up seeing aunts and uncles take her and her cousins for a few days or even weeks when parents needed help. They would regularly have sleepovers, spend weekends together, and have frequent family gatherings at different relatives' houses. She assumed, based on her friends' families and her own upbringing, that it was very common. She did not expect me or my sister to reject that kind of relationship or to be so firmly against it. She admitted that she now understood she had been trying to force what she thought was normal, and she promised to do her best to respect my wishes going forward. I thanked her for that. My brother then came in with Connor, and while Connor played nearby, my brother said that he and my sister-in-law had decided to start going to therapy to come to terms with Connor getting older and to begin planning for the future. He admitted it was foolish to think our parents would always be around, no matter how much we wish that could be the case. He said he hoped that in a few months, both my sister-in-law and Connor's biological mother would feel comfortable enough to start leaving him overnight at respite care facilities, or with individuals specifically trained to support children like Connor. My sister-in-law even joked that in a few years, they might be able to travel as a family to the same destination my brother recently had to visit alone. I was genuinely glad to hear all of this. I told them that I was really happy they were moving forward, but I also wanted to clearly set out some things for them to know. I would be happy to go with them to visit care facilities and assisted living facilities that Connor may eventually live in when the inevitable happens. I would be happy to make sure if something terrible were to happen that their assets and savings were used to take care of Connor and his needs. I would be happy to visit Connor at those facilities once he is there. I would not take on any role as a caretaker now or in the future. That is not something I am willing to do. I explained it more politely than I write it here, but I made it clear that if they ever tried what they did recently or attempted to bring that up again, I would go low contact or no contact. I took some of your advice and spelled it all out, just to make sure there was no room for misunderstanding. I would never allow Connor to end up on the street, but I also would not let him live with me, nor would I ever become his guardian or adopt him. I would ensure that he lived with people who are properly trained to care for him. Both of them took this surprisingly well. They were relieved to know I would make sure their wills and plans were carried out if it ever came down to that. My brother apologized again for our previous argument. I accepted his apology, but I also told him politely to never ask me to do that again. I reminded him that his dream was to be a father and have a family. My dream has always been to travel the world. I told him I plan to start going on week-long trips soon, and while I love Connor, he is my nephew, not my child. I also love my brother deeply, but there are certain boundaries I will not cross. I emphasize that I will never sacrifice my happiness and youth to be a caretaker. We hugged and the rest of the evening went well, so that is where things stand. I am truly hoping that they stick to their word. I am emotionally drained from everything that has happened, and I do not think I could go through another situation like the last one, but here is to baby steps and small victories. Full Blown Panic said, sister-in-law comparing spending time with aunts and uncles as a child to having someone take care of her extremely high needs child was hilarious to me. Marzipan Moth said, this is exactly what that was. Taking care of someone with severe autism is in no way comparable to taking care of a neurotypical child, as OP is not trained to do that, as shown when he was understandably unable to handle his nephew's meltdown. This final story was made in the same subreddit by a user named Family Drama. The post is titled, I invited my dad's GF over my real mom to spend the day with me. I am a 17-year-old girl and my parents got divorced 6 years ago. My mother quickly remarried and my father has been seeing his new girlfriend for nearly 2 years now. I live at my mother's house for 2 weeks, then switch over to my father's house for the following 2 weeks. My relationship with my mother has always been difficult. I have always felt as though my mother wished for a more feminine daughter so we could do traditional mother-daughter activities together. However, I am simply not the person my mother wants me to be. I have always been more tomboyish and interested in sports, especially tennis since I was a little girl, something my mother never truly understood or made an effort to take an interest in. Because of this, my mother and I never developed the close mother-daughter relationship I feel she always hoped for. My relationship with my father has been the opposite. My father and I have always gotten along really well, and I have always been a daddy's girl. When my father introduced me to his new girlfriend, Julia, I instantly disliked her. As a younger version of myself, I thought she was stealing my father away from me. Her being relatively young, 27 when they began dating, and as I unfairly stereotyped her at first, a vapid pretty girl, certainly did not help me warm up to her either. But I misjudged her, and she has honestly been wonderful. She has always supported me, shown interest in my passions, attended my tennis matches, which my mother never bothered to do, and has been a great person all around. I am ashamed to admit that I did not recognize this until about 3 months ago and had been behaving pretty badly toward her before that. The problem, the second to last weekend, I participated in a tennis tournament and won second place. For coming in second, I won a spa day for myself and a guest. I decided to invite Julia, my father's girlfriend, to thank her for supporting me and dealing with my terrible behavior. You would not believe how happy she was when I invited her. However, when I returned to my mother's house on Sunday evening, my mother kind of assumed I would invite her as my guest for the spa day. She seemed to really look forward to it. When I awkwardly told her that I had already invited Julia, she was disappointed and sad. Since then, she has been downcast and moody, and we have not really talked. I have tried to explain the situation to her, but she will not listen. Now I feel awful. I feel like I have really hurt my mother, and I feel as if I chose Julia over her. Update. Sorry for the late update. It has been a busy 2 weeks. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to read and reply to my post. I have read every response and appreciate all the input. I had been putting off talking to my mother until Sunday a week ago when I finally found a good opportunity to speak with her. I told my mother that I love her, that I did not intend to hurt her by inviting Julia, and that I feel terrible for hurting her. I also explained to her why I invited Julia. This time she seemed to listen and reassured her that inviting Julia does not mean we cannot have our own spa day or that I chose Julia over her because she is still my mother and I will always love her. Then I showed her the websites of some spa places I had looked up beforehand and offered to pay for part of the costs. I know some people advise me against it, but I think it is a small but important gesture to show my mother how much she means to me. My mother seemed really excited to go to one of them with me and said I would not have to pay a cent. Then came the hard part for me. I told my mother that I feel like she never supported me in my interests and that it hurts me that she cannot even be bothered to show up to my tennis matches. I also expressed my feelings that I always felt like she wished for a more feminine daughter and how that hurt me. At first, my mother got pretty defensive. She tried to deny it, but I was adamant, and in the end, when she saw how important this was to me, she apologized and promised to improve. Later at dinner, my mother asked me if I would like to go to a nearby climbing park with her and my stepfather in the future. I instantly agreed and was so happy because going to a climbing park is not something my mother would normally suggest. I feel like it means she genuinely listened to me and is trying to truly improve our relationship. It has been a week now since I talked to my mother, and I am in good spirits as I hope our relationship will improve. I am also hopeful we will find our own mother-daughter thing in the future. Thanks again, Reddit, for your input. Sugar Can Kiss My Ass said, "This is one of those I should stop here for tonight posts. I mean, I will not, but I probably should." Versus said, "It is always so nice to read the ones where there is a problem. People communicate with each other about the problem, and through discussion, the people involved work through the problem." Smart Quokka said, "I am glad OP's mother is willing to admit her mistakes and work to make up for them." Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.